But the other thing that is clear is that of all 8 of those teams that preceded the Chiefs are in many respects in the best position.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Happy Thursday. I'm Hayley Lewis, and this is Chiefs News Daily. We got an interview headed your way that you don't want to miss. Michael MacCambridge is coming on today. He is an NFL author, journalist. He's been covering the history in NFL for many, many years, and he recently did a deep dive into the difficulties behind a three-peat and the plausibility if Kansas City can pull it off. It's called Into Thin Air, and if you want to catch it, you can catch it on Tyler Dunn's Substack. It is golongtd.com. Here's that interview now. Michael, appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat. You know a thing or two about the odds. You know a thing or two about the NFL. You know a thing or two about how things pan out. And I recently saw writing up a lot about the three-peats. Is it plausible? We'll start with that off the top.
Sure, it's plausible. The piece I wrote for golongtd.com, Tyler Dunn's website, the purpose was to take a deep dive into, first of all, why it's so hard to win back-to-back titles in the NFL. It's happened multiple times in every other major American sport, but not in the NFL during the Super Bowl era. The second thing was to take a look at the 8 teams prior to the Chiefs that won back-to-back Super Bowls and look at that third season in each of those 8 teams and see what lessons could be drawn. None of those 8 teams even made it back to the Super Bowl. And of course, we're talking about some of the greatest dynasties in pro football history. The Packers in the 60s, the Steelers in the 70s, like that. And then the third thing was to try to see if there was anything in those other teams' stories that could inform the question of, can the Chiefs do it a third time? And so, there's no easy TLDR to summarize this, but I will say 2 things stand out. One, every one of those 8 teams prior to the Chiefs that won back-to-back Super Bowls experienced their share of good fortune in one or both of those years. And the reasons they didn't get back to the Super Bowl the third year vary. Some teams lost coaches. Some teams lost crucial players. Some teams got old. Some teams got arrogant. But the one commonality is every one of those 8 teams, their luck turned that third season. The balls that had been bouncing their way, the tackles made a half yard before the end zone that got made to knock a ball loose, suddenly it was happening a half yard after the other team got into the end zone. Those breaks are unsustainable. So that was one thing I learned. But the other thing that is clear is that of all 8 of those teams that preceded the Chiefs are in many respects in the best position.
Okay.
They've got a head coach who's got more experience than any other coach who's faced this challenge, who remains vibrant and innovative. And all 8 of the prior quarterbacks of back-to-back NFL Super Bowl champions are either in the Hall of Fame or going to be there as soon as they're eligible. But none of them were so clearly the best quarterback of his era in his prime the way Patrick Mahomes is. So, yes, it's plausible. Short answer, it's plausible. Now, I will say in the next breath, and, I'm sure you're going to get to this, the AFC is going to be a battle royal this year. And there are so many, not just excellent teams, but excellent teams with quarterbacks who, like Mahomes, can take over a game. And so that gauntlet that the Chiefs ran last season, they might be facing much of the same this year. That's what makes it so daunting.
What is it about the NFL that makes it A, so challenging, and B, where that luck might be able to fall in? Because a lot of times people don't want to believe that it could come down to that, but obviously no one's gotten lucky in the NFL.
Right. Well, the thing that makes it so challenging, on one hand, you've got not just free agency and a salary cap, but you also have a salary floor, which you don't have in Major League Baseball. You don't have one NFL team taking the field against a team with 1/3 of the resources for players the way you have in in baseball. So there's no bingo free spaces for starters. Also, the way the NFL handles position scheduling, if you finish first place, you've got 3 uncommon games every season that no one else in your division has to play against first place teams. Teams that finish fourth place, like the Texans in 2022, they go on to win the division in 2023. Part of that was they had an easier schedule. I don't think the Chargers are quite ready to challenge the Chiefs yet, but the Chargers have their uncommon games this year are New England Patriots, Tennessee Titans, Arizona Cardinals. Chiefs get none of those teams. Instead, they get the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Texans, and the San Francisco 49ers. So they're playing a different schedule than the competitors within their division, and that's another thing that makes it difficult. So that's the challenge. The luck part, I mean, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you can look at this 2 ways. You can say if Dee Ford doesn't jump off sides against the Patriots in the 2018 AFC Championship game, and if Chris Jones is able to wrap up Joe Burrow in the 2021 AFC Championship game, the Chiefs go to 6 Super Bowls. And that's true as far as it goes. But we can also name 3 plays in the Super Bowl wins that if they'd gone another way, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't overthrow a wide open receiver, if the Eagles don't hold on 3rd and short in the end of the game, if the 49ers pick up an unblocked Chris Jones at the end of the last Super Bowl, the Chiefs could have lost all 3 of those games. So I think the thing that people who are in football and know football, such as yourself, appreciate is just how narrow the margins are between victory and defeat.
Can you maybe talk about a little bit of that quarterback competition? And I don't want to say all of it rests on Mahomes' shoulders, but really how much of that responsibility to get to this three-peat is put on one person who has to, overcast or overcome all these other contenders who are just, I don't want to say just as talented, but damn near close.
Well, to your point, there are other quarterbacks in the AFC who, in a tight game at the end of a game,
right,
can take over the game and drive their team to the winning score.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen did that in the classic playoff game a few years ago. You score the go-ahead touchdown with 13 seconds left, kind of feel like you're good, right?
Right.
So unfairly, I think, to Josh Allen, his reputation has been shaped by losing 3 playoff games to Mahomes and the Chiefs. But they didn't lose those 3 playoff games because of Josh Allen. They lost those 3 playoff games because of the Bills' leaky defense and because of the brilliance of Mahomes and the Chiefs. So that's one part of it. I think the other thing, football is such a team game. There's so many variables. 53 players in the team. Any one of them can swing the outcome of a game. So there's a limited amount that any one player, even a player as great as Patrick Mahomes, can affect the outcome. But having said that, I will repeat what Tony Dungy said. Tony Dungy said he always bets against the defending champion because it's so hard to even repeat in the NFL, much less three-peat. He said, but the Chiefs can do it. The Chiefs have Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. They have the football equivalent of those 2 pieces. And as long as you've got that, you've got a chance. And Dungy's point, which I think is entirely true, is if you don't have that coach, they don't win the Super Bowl last season. If you don't have that quarterback, they don't win the Super Bowl last season. So they come into this with as good a chance as any of their 8 predecessors to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still want to emphasize how humongously difficult, how the odds are stacked against them in so many ways. You have to take it one game at a time and see where you are in January, because if you start trying to win the 3rd straight Super Bowl in September, it's going to be a very long and disappointing season.
All right, Chiefs Kingdom, appreciate you listening. As always, we ask that you like and subscribe right here on the KCSN YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Remember, we are only 1 week away officially from the home opener at Arrowhead Stadium here in Kansas City. Make sure you have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow night.